All right, 10:36, welcome back to Talk of the Town. If you want to know more about the importance of Scollay Square, not only to the city of Boston, but to the nation, you have to talk to someone who has spent years researching the life and times of Scollay Square. David Kruh has done just that, and he's putting together a brand new book that is tentatively titled
Scollay Square and the Old Howard.
Please welcome David Kruh. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's kind of interesting to have you on, someone who's done the research on this time, and you're sitting next to people who lived the time. I mean,
this woman has just been terrific. Ann wrote a book herself, you know, called This Was Burlesque, and I recommend it to anybody who has any interest at all in burlesque and the story of Ann Corio's career, because it's a fabulous book. It really is.
So far, we've been talking about the performances at the Old Howard, and people think, you know, midnight, the place closed up, the sidewalks rolled up, and that was it. Scollay Square lived 24 hours a day, didn't it?
It most certainly did, and certainly John can tell you, especially during the Second World War, when the sailors literally owned Scollay Square. Scollay Square did not shut down.
After you would do a show, Ann, would your night be over, or would you continue to live the life of Scollay Square?
No, Boston was, it still is. I love Boston. It's my favorite town in the whole entire United States. And this, listen, it is. And I walked around. See, my niece goes to the, is it the Boston Conservatory?
Yeah.
And we took it to Felicia's for dinner, because I don't know what those kids eating. You know, she, when I come up here, she eats.
So, good nutritional food.
I take her to Felicia's, the most wonderful dinner. And we drove her back to her dorm. And I couldn't believe how clean the streets are here. I haven't been around the town like this in a while. And it's safe to walk in the streets in Boston at night. You would not do that in New York, Chicago, St. Louis, name it. No way. I moved out of New York because I'm scared to death of New York.
And that was one of the nice things about Scollay Square. It was a neighborhood-type setting.
It was.
How did it get... Who was Scollay?
Well, William Scollay was an apothecary and an entrepreneur who was involved in many business deals. And he bought the building, which was located in the center of Scollay Square.
And this is the Scollay building right here?
This is the Scollay building, which he purchased in 1795, and he lived in until his death in 1808. Now, Scollay Square changed more than any other part of the city. We're looking at Scollay Square during the Civil War, around 1865. Our next shot will be the exact same view 120 years later.
And that looks a little more recognizable to a lot of people.
Isn't that incredible? Now, many streets led into Scollay Square. One of the most fascinating was Cornhill. Cornhill was actually the intellectual center of the abolitionist movement during the Civil War. William Lloyd Garrison published The Liberator, which is an abolitionist newspaper. Uncle Tom's Cabin was written here, as was the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And eventually, Cornhill became known for the myriad of bookstores that were along this street. Men like Franklin Delano Roosevelt and John Kennedy are known to have gone through many of those bookstores while they went to Harvard.
Looking at John and Ann, and as those pictures came up, obviously you don't remember the Civil War, but they start to bring back memories, don't they?
Yes, yes.
Do you, when you walk down the street today, and on the way over here, you must have come right through, is it disappointing to see what's become?
It is to me. Yeah, all the character is gone. Nothing but these great big buildings. The first thing I wanted to do when they, we fought awfully hard to try to save the Old Howard and try to don't tear down all this wonderful. It had so much history, but I don't know where I am. I get lost. I can't even find my way around the block there now.
It's special. I'm from out of town, and it's very difficult for me to imagine. Before let's speak, I want to talk about another set of pictures, because from what I understand, Scollay Square was also part of a hit song of the day.
Couple of lines in the Kingston Trio's Charlie and the MTA about a poor guy who goes down and doesn't have the nickel to get off the train. Charlie's wife goes down to the Scollay Square station every day at 2:15. The Scollay Square station was part of the first subway system in America. Scollay Square began really with Tremont Row, a collection of erudite shops and dance academies. The first dentist to use anesthesia was here on Tremont Row, which eventually evolved, as Scollay Square did, into a collection of theaters. Here's the Star Theater. I know many old West Enders remember the Star Theater because the star, which was lit, used to rotate, and the kids used to get a kick out of that. Across the street, the Crawford House. Crawford House originally was the home of Senator Daniel Webster, and eventually became a home of one of Scollay Square's most infamous performers, and I guess we'll see that in the next, that'll be the first picture in our next...
Let's do it right now. Jack, can you roll that next group, and let's see, is it Sally?
Sally Key.
Sally,
she was known, what was her nickname? Thank you, Queen of the Tassels. Tassel Girl.
You also shook your head when you said the Crawford. I mean, you and,
Absolutely.
big memories of the Crawford?
Nice scratch.
Sally Keith, she used to dance, and she used to make the tassels on her costume spin like the propellers on an airplane. And then she would turn around and she'd have two more tassels on her posterior, both spinning in opposite directions.
You can say butt on this show. That's
Can I?
okay, yeah. We're big boys and girls here.
You know, we refer to them as bag people today, but they existed in Scollay Square, and Sally Keith was known to be the most gracious person. They would go to the Hotel Lenox where she lived and call up and say, Miss Keith, I need $5. She'd call the bellboy, and the $5 would be delivered.
That's wonderful.
You know, the reputation of these first ladies, and as I said, I considered burlesque an art, you had to know these people. They were intelligent, lovely women.
There is a story about Sally Keith.
Can I take a break and we'll
Sure.
come back? How about that? Okay, Ann, John, and David will take a break. We'll be back with more Talking to Town on Old Scollay Square right after this. Stay with us.